You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I just got off the phone with Laura Loomer. She's going to be on the radio tomorrow. And she's organized a peaceful, I'm not sure exactly what it's not, a peaceful rally is what she called it. She wanted to be very clear about it. A peaceful rally at the federal courthouse in Miami in support of President Trump. Kari Lake's going to be there. And some of you, I'm sure most of you saw a week or two ago, maybe about a week and a half ago, Laura Loomer confronted Comey at a book signing. And Laura Loomer has been put on a Homeland Security watch list since that happened. She got a call from one of the newspapers that were interviewing her. One of the fake news newspapers told her about it. They didn't even tell her. So you'll hear her on the radio tomorrow. But
I checked her Wikipedia, and they have her listed on the Wikipedia as a white supremacist.
Yeah, she's a Jew.
A Jewish white supremacist.
A Jewish white supremacist, Laura Loomer.
It's incredible.
And I really don't get why they hate Laura Loomer so much.
I get it because she's got balls and she exposes the deep state.
But this is the thing about these haters of Loomer, okay? And the thing about Loomer is they don't realize this, but they're elevating her. Laura Loomer, what they're doing to Laura Loomer is similar to what they do with Trump in a different way, right? The more they go after Trump, the higher he goes up in the polls. The more they go after Loomer, the more popular she becomes. Now, the interview, I recorded an interview with her that's going to air tomorrow on the radio because she is in another time zone, so the times didn't work for the morning. And Tuesday, the day of the event, she's going to be very busy, doing all this stuff with the president and everything. So I interviewed her, and it's recorded, and you'll hear it tomorrow. And she talked about some very interesting things, including some things about Ron DeSantis. And she was the first MAGA person to pick up on Ron DeSantis and expose him. And I remember she went to a Ron DeSantis book signing, remember? And they removed Laura Loomer. They said no MAGA people here with MAGA gear are allowed at this DeSantis book signing. I didn't believe it. I thought, this is crazy. I don't believe this. This is before we knew about DeSantis, right? Before he blew his cover. This was a few months back. And she was spot on the money with that. But, with Trump and with Loomer, this is these leftists. President Trump says to call them communist. He says to call them the deep state is too mild. He says call them communist.
I agree.
He said that over the weekend.
Let's call them what they are. Yeah, they are communists.
Yeah, we live in this police state. But what I was talking to Laura Loomer about, what they're trying to do, we've talked about this quite a bit, is declare MAGA a domestic hate group and not allow us to meet and rally. And this is what's happened. Donald Trump has made history. This is his run for the presidency both times, and now the third time. His entire it's all very historic for very many reasons. They don't really teach American history anymore. So if you're under the age of 35, you probably aren't familiar with the Lincoln-Douglas debates. They used to teach us all about that stuff.
No, they teach kids now what gender to choose.
Yeah, exactly. But Abraham Lincoln, he debated Douglas. They were running for the Senate and everything. And those debates around the state were very well known and very talked about and studied for 150 years and all this. And it was very historic. And then you've got the Kennedy-Nixon debates, and that's like what it all happened, and all this stuff. They make a big deal about it. But President Trump has done something that no other presidential candidate or president has done. And he has the love of the people like no one else ever has had in this country. The only person, and this is true, out of all of our presidents, the only person who could even come close to being as loved by the people as much as Donald Trump would be George Washington. And I don't think George Washington was as popular as Donald Trump. I really don't. I know it's a lot of revisionist history that he was the greatest and he was a great man, and we wouldn't have our great country if it wasn't for George Washington. But the love that the American people have for Donald Trump's amazing. And that Kennedy-Nixon debate, the Lincoln-Douglas debates and all of that are nothing compared to the rally movement of President Trump. These rallies are amazing. He has been, I want you guys to think about this. He's been on a U.S. tour for 7 years. Mm-hmm. And, most bands, the only people that have had successful tours that go this long are like the Grateful Dead, who had much smaller venues than President Trump, or like a Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift. And I'm not even sure they could sustain it at this time. What President Trump does that's really crazy is he goes to the same cities too a lot. And he still has a full house. And the thing about Trump that has them so unglued, there's so many things. But one of the big things is it's the love that the American people have for him and the support that people have.
That's what they hate. That's the real threat, is not so much him, but is the power of the people.
That's right.
That's what really freaked them out, is that we got him elected in 2016, and they did not see that coming, because every other election they've been able to control and manage. And this was the first time that the people truly had the power, and it scared the hell out of them. And that is why they're clamping down and trying to hold on to their control tighter and tighter and tighter. And it's kind of a weird relationship, because the more they try to control Trump and control us, the more support he gets, the more we want our freedoms more and more. That's what they always say when you hold on to something really tight, that old expression. If they would have just let him be, and he could have done so much more than he even did. You know what I mean? But they had to meddle with everything, and they were terrified. And I think what they were really afraid of was not only him, like totally dismantling their whole system they had in place, but then I think the movement scared them too, and the power of the people and the MAGA movement. Yeah. And what would happen after he left office, and him having a successor continue, and it would be the end of their entire deep state communistic agenda that they have. So what they do with people they don't want to have power or control or anything, they don't want to give that up to anybody. They label you, like Laura Loomer, they label a white supremacist, they label us terrorists, racist. It's a way to control and to bully you into submission. That's what they're trying to do, but people are aware, and they're not letting it happen, thank goodness.
Well, yeah. And there's never going to be another president or presidential candidate in our lifetimes as popular and as beloved as Trump.
I agree with that. And you know what, Brian? There will never be another Trump.
Never.
There will never be a man. He is, when they made him, they broke the mold. I mean, he is someone who has withstood more than any mortal man could ever withstand. Any other man would crack.
Well,
would have cracked long ago.
The thing about Trump,
he's one of a kind.
Obviously, we've known who Trump is most of our lives, but before he ran for president, we really didn't know him. Before he ran for president, we didn't know him as well. I mean, we all knew who he was, and we used to watch I really miss The Apprentice. We watched The Apprentice and The Celebrity Apprentice, and of course, they won't rerun it because it makes him look good, and even though it would be popular, can you imagine if they were streaming The Apprentice? Everybody would be watching it.
I'd love it.
But we didn't really know him. We just knew who he was as a celebrity. We knew a little bit about him. We didn't know him intimately like we do now. Now all of us know everything about him. We feel connected to him. And I think one of the things that really freaked them out when all these phony investigations and all this business is that Donald Trump has been a household name since the 80s. He's been a household name in New York since the 70s. He is rich. He's had this image of being a playboy. He went to Studio 54 and everything. And I remember when he first announced, I'm like, I don't know. I was with Donald Trump. I supported Donald Trump back in 2011 when Romney got the nomination. President Trump was talking about running for president then. And I supported him then. Yep. And one of the things he was doing, which he did something that just blew my mind. Every once in a while, someone will come out of nowhere, like Trump did back in 2010, 2011, and do something that nobody could do. He got Barack Obama to produce a birth certificate. The Obama birth certificate was a big thing because he had never produced it. And Donald Trump got together with Sheriff Joe Arpaio, and they were on the search for the birth certificate. And it went on, and they called him a bigot and all this stuff, Donald Trump, and he kept pushing and pushing. And boom, Obama had a press conference, and he produced a document that he said was his birth certificate, and nobody could get him to do that. And I thought, well, you know what? That's amazing. And I was on the Trump train then, and that was like 2010, 2011-ish, somewhere around there. But I remember back then, he was toying with the idea of running for president. And I remember on one season of The Celebrity Apprentice, Nene Leakes was on, and they did the introduction with all the celebrities on The Apprentice. And he said, hey, Nene, you think I should run for president? And she thought it was a good idea. They all loved him then. And before he started running, though, the first time, I thought, when he was just toying with the idea back in the 2011 time, I was like, Donald Trump's like a playboy. I would imagine he's got like an island in the Bahamas, like David Copperfield, remember that? With all these Victoria's Secret models on it because he's so rich and been so famous. And then we come to find out that this billionaire playboy thing is just an image. He doesn't even drink alcohol. And
I'm sure he's had his share of beautiful women, though. Come on.
Yeah, but he doesn't have like a harem like you would think, okay, or a woman in every port. But the thing about Donald Trump, he's led a pretty decent, clean life. And I think what has surprised these establishment people and the deep state and all these people, they could not imagine that somebody could be that rich, successful, and famous and not be a sleazeball and actually be a upstanding moral person. And it's not many men could rise to the level of fame and fortune as Donald Trump and be squeaky clean like that. It's because when you're at that level of fame and fortune, the whole world, you can have whatever you want. And that's when guys become like dictators where they just start doing crazy things, but not Donald Trump. And for 7 years, they've been investigating and going after him, and they've not been able to get anything. Now, this thing that's going on in Miami, these 37 charges and all this BS, they got him up on espionage charges. And that's like a spy, right? That's like spying. And the Espionage Act.
That's insane. Meanwhile, you had Swalwell and Feinstein literally having relationships with Chinese spies.
Yes.
Everybody knew it. It came out. It was public. They're still in office.
Feinstein had a driver and an assistant that was with the CCP, Chinese spy, 20 years, and was her driver and valet and all this stuff, which means he had access to everything she had, and then Swalwell with Fang. Donald Trump, he's went into the White House worth $10 billion. You can't buy a guy like that. He's got enough money. Yeah. The people that, if you go through the history of spying, except in times of war, but like this Hansen, this FBI spy that just died a couple days ago was a big spy. All these spies, even Jonathan Pollard, they do it for money. You go through all these, except in wartime's a little different, but in peacetime, spies, they always do it for money.
Well, they tried to bring Trump into the fold of the deep state and get control of him right away once he was in office. With the dossier. And he told him to F off.
That's right.
And ever since then, he's been on their, shit list, for lack of a better phrase, and they've been after him. They will never stop until, they just will never stop as long as this man's alive. And they will never leave him alone. And I don't want to say if, but when he gets back in the White House, I wonder when he's done what his power will be. I think he'll still have a lot of influence.
What do you mean, when he comes back in the White House?
When he finally leaves and retires from political life, I think he'll still have a lot of influence. And I think they're still going to come after him even then. I mean, look how he has influenced the media so much, and these other politicians that are running so much. I mean, he just has to say something, and that's it. It's like, the MAGA group of people, and I think MAGA's growing. I think the more, like I said, the more you try to clamp down, Americans love their freedom. Okay, that is part of who we are. And the left are very threatened by that, and they want complete control of your life. They've gotten much worse. They've always been bad, but it's gotten much worse in the last few years, I would say. And the more they try to hamper your freedom, the more people want to have their freedom and the more resistance they're going to meet. So it's kind of just, it's this weird relationship that's happening. And if the left could just stop being so controlling and loosen up a little bit, then people wouldn't be fighting so hard for their freedom.
Yeah.
But anyway, they want complete control, and he's right about that, to call them communistic. But I think they're always going to go after this guy. He has so much influence and power. Like I said, look at how many people in the media alone have been affected, their careers have been affected by this one person. It's amazing to me, the level of influence, just his existence, just being here. And just tweeting things or truthing things and just making comments, how much of a reaction he elicits from people on the left. I've just never seen a person trigger people so much.
Kathy, I'll tell you about the left.
They just can't help themselves.
The left.
They can't control it.
This is a crazy thing about the left, okay? And the left are so consumed with hate.
That TBS.
That they don't see themselves.
No.
Okay. President Kennedy, I think most people agree that President Kennedy was killed by the deep state. And there's
what his nephew says.
There's a variety of theories to that. Robert Kennedy Jr. says his dad and uncle were killed because they were going to pull us out of Vietnam. And they said after both of their deaths, there was Nixon did an escalation, Johnson did an escalation. And Bobby Kennedy was running in 1968 on withdrawing from Vietnam. And we didn't have a full-scale, troop movement in Vietnam when Kennedy was president, like we went on to have later, but we had soldiers there. He was going to pull them back. And they killed him. And one of the things that I've heard all my life from the Kennedy lovers, right? These old-time Democrats, you hear that, right? The deep state killed him because of different things. But one of the things they've always said that they killed him for is that Kennedy wanted to do away with the deep state, that he wanted to dissolve and shut down the CIA and the NSA.
Oh, yeah. I think this has been a problem since J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah. And I've heard all the Kennedy conspiracy people my whole life. I always heard them say they killed Kennedy because he was going to shut down the deep state. And all those Kennedy conspiracies that they killed him because of this or that, and it was the government and all this stuff, I never really believed that. Until I saw what the deep state's been doing to Trump. And then it just validates everything. And you see people like Oliver Stone, for example, great example. Oliver Stone, who made this movie, which is very difficult movie to understand, JFK, the one with Kevin Costner. But he's all into this Kennedy conspiracy thing. And can he see that the deep state, what they're doing to Donald Trump, they're going after Donald Trump in a different way than Kennedy, but it's the same people going after Trump that went after Kennedy. And it's amazing to me that the Democrats don't see this. That it's amazing to me. But here's the thing about President Trump. Comey said over the weekend that Donald Trump could get elected from a jail cell, and he seemed to be disturbed by that. Not the fact that Trump would be in a jail cell. He's disturbed that he could win the presidency from a jail cell. And I think that's a great thing. And in a way, I don't want President Trump to go to jail. But in a way, wouldn't that be amazing if he did get elected from a jail cell? What would that say? What would that be like? What's going to happen? And when he goes to be arraigned in Miami tomorrow, what these Democrats and never Trumpers didn't get in New York, they want to get in Miami, and that's the mugshot.
I don't think that's going to happen.
And I
just don't think the Secret Service will let that happen.
Well, I'll tell you about this. The Secret Service. Some of those Secret Service people around Trump, I've seen them around him for years.
Yeah.
In fact, some of them. I was watching President Trump this weekend in North Carolina and Georgia, and I saw him get off the plane in North Carolina. And he was at the airport and he went up to the rope line, and some of those Secret Service people, there was one in particular, I saw them with President Trump before he was president, when he was the first rally I went to in the 2016 campaign, which was 2015. I went to my first Trump rally here in Florida, and I saw one of those Secret Service people there. So the Secret Service people around Trump on his detail, many of them have been with him for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think they're loyal to him, not to these creeps, and they're not going to let him be humiliated or put in an embarrassing
Look at
situation.
everything if you don't, there's people that want to deny the deep state. I don't know how you can deny that when you look at all the things they have made up and concocted and how they've manipulated the media to push these fake narratives, all to bring down somebody who was in a president and an ex-president. That to me is frightening. And if you're a Democrat, even if you don't like Trump, that should scare the hell out of you. The problem is a lot of Democrats are so radicalized that even if deep down they know he's done nothing wrong, they don't want to ever admit it because their hatred of him is so strong. But they really are making a mistake because even though they feel they're on the right side of this and the ends justifies the means, this is not a good thing when you have the government working to get involved in elections, to destroy a sitting president with fake news, with fake stories, with fake evidence. That's not a good thing for this country. I think the deep state has been in operation for decades. Like I said, J. Edgar Hoover basically started the FBI. It was called the Bureau of Investigations when it first started, and then he changed it to the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and he ran that office for decades. He had files on everybody, and I think it's been going on since he was around. This control of he was director of the FBI during the time of like 8 presidents or 7, a lot. And you don't think he wielded that power? He had files on everybody. You don't think that guy had control? I think this has never changed. And like you've always said, the people they've elected have played ball.
Well,
and
here's what happened.
Trump was the first guy to come along and say, "Screw you! I'm working for the people, not you."
The FBI brought down Nixon.
That's absolutely true.
When J. Edgar Hoover was in office, every president wanted to get rid of him, and they couldn't because he had tapes and files, right?
That's right.
And when J. Edgar Hoover died, Nixon, I can't remember the name of the guy, but he appointed as the replacement director somebody that was in his inner circle, a political person, not from within the FBI. Mm-hmm. And the guy that became deep throat for Woodward and Bernstein, his name was Mark Felt. He thought he was next in line and should have been made the director. And he's the one that leaked all this stuff to Woodward and Bernstein. Yep. So the FBI brought down Richard Nixon because he brought in somebody as an FBI director who wasn't part of the team. And that's similar to what they're doing to President Trump right now. Now, listen, we're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Something big has happened today. Big, big, big. Uh-oh. And we're going to get to it when we get back from the break. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Back after this.
Robert Allen Miltenberg invites you to time travel with him to the Roman future. His new novella, available at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. It's the golden age of Rome, a time of peace and prosperity. And Scadius Commodius Lavatorius is its greatest scientist. But for all he's achieved, one question haunts him. Will Rome survive the test of time? There's only one way to find out. Come along on this cosmic romp of an adventure. See if you can read the signs any better than a brilliant scientist can. Prediction, science fiction, allegory, national glory. This is a satire at its most gladiatorial. Center stage in the Circus Maximus of your mind. A story of time machines and timeless politics, strange Roman cuisine and gambling parlor tricks, spinning gold and crossing the river Styx. That's the Roman future. Available on Kindle and paperback. Go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble now and visit The Roman Future by Robert Allen Miltenberg today.
Hey, good morning, Brian. It's Lisa, and my husband and I received our My Pillow 2.0 that we ordered with Kane the other day, the buy one, get one free, and they're our first My Pillows, and we love them. We absolutely love them. They're just absolutely marvelous. Yeah, I'm so glad. I got slippers on the way, too.
Go to MyPillow.com and use our promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E, and buy your My Pillow 2.0. Right now, buy one, get one free. You can also order by phone, toll-free, 800-718-5787. 1-800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. Promo code KANE. Are you ready to unlock your child's creativity and imagination? Introducing B-Block's Building Block STEM toy that offers endless possibilities for building and fun. Available online at Amazon.com/B-Blocks. That's BEBLOX. With B-Block's Building Block STEM toy, the building adventures are limitless. They're available in 2 sets, 250 pieces and 500 pieces. The more pieces you have, the more you can create. These vibrant and sturdy building tiles come in 8 different colors, allowing your child to explore colors, shapes, and designs in an exciting and fun way. It's a tool for learning development by stimulating creativity. These STEM projects enhance fine motor skills, hand-eye coordination, and even introduce basic geometry as well as architectural concepts. Whether it's a birthday or any occasion, B-Block's Building Block STEM toy makes a smart gift idea for both boys and girls age 4 to 12. Don't miss out on this incredible STEM toy that sparks imagination and learning. Go right now to Amazon.com/B-Blocks. That's BEBLOX. Amazon.com/B-Blocks.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks for staying tuned in, guys, and welcome. Okay. So Fox News is in a complete panic over Tucker Carlson. You know, Tucker Carlson's debut show on Twitter, Tucker on Twitter, has so far 169 million views.
Wow.
And that is the largest audience in, I don't know, how many people watched the last episode of MASH? Can you look that up real quick,
Probably,
Kathy?
I think 40 million.
I don't know. Can
Maybe
you look it up real quick?
million.
Because I can't look it up right now because my hand is doing things with the microphone. I can't reach the Google, but 169 million. And by the way, that's just so far. He's done 2 episodes.
106 million.
So okay,
and there were just 3 networks.
Okay, so there were 106 million Now let me tell you guys, the last episode of MASH was in 1983.
Yeah,
I remember like it was yesterday.
That was a big deal.
It was a big deal. I remember the name of the episode. Goodbye, farewell, amen. And I was a big MASH fan, but when MASH went off the air, that audience was the largest audience at that time that ever watched the same episode of something on television ever in the United States. Now, there might have been more people who have watched things since because there's more people in America than there were in 1983. But that was a big. But I want you to think about that. So Tucker Carlson at 169 million has 66 million more than watched that final episode of MASH. Mm-hmm. And those of you that are old enough to remember that, you know what a big deal. That was a big deal. You know, and
oh yeah, I think that was the most watched episode of a TV show ever.
It may still hold the record.
Yeah, I mean, because there were only 3 networks. MASH was very popular. It's a funny show, very popular. It was on for 10 years. And
it was a big deal.
I remember the last scene. It was really sad when Hawkeye went up in the helicopter and the one guy, BJ, wrote goodbye.
Yeah.
In the rocks on the
BJ
grass.
That's right.
And that was with that song, and it was really sad.
Well, so Tucker Carlson, what he's done by going on his own it's just amazing. And he has more people watching him on Twitter than on all of the cable news combined. And when they let him go, even though he's still on the payroll, they have not fired him yet. They've just taken him off the air. But when they dropped Tucker Carlson at Fox News, I told you the relevancy, not of just Fox News, but the relevancy of cable news is now over. They have made themselves irrelevant. And some people agreed with me with that, but a lot didn't. They're like, oh, no. Yeah. And on Thursday night last week, we talked about this on the podcast yesterday. Thursday night last week, MSNBC in primetime beat Fox. And that's a big deal because that was the day that the indictment in Miami came out against President Trump. So that was a big news day. And Fox News is losing to MSNBC now. And that's something I never thought would happen. And it's going to get worse. And, you you had pointed out, Kathy, on last night's show, it's not that people have left Fox and they've gone to CNN or MSNBC. They've just left cable news. A lot of them have gone to Newsmax. But it's not like MSNBC's gaining viewers. They still have as few people as ever. But
the Fox people are not going to MSNBC. They're going to people like you, Benny Johnson. We started airing this show at 8:00 with the live chat on YouTube. We took over because we wanted to take over
the podcast.
Tucker's time slot. That was our one of our Patreon's idea, D. I thought it was a great idea. We thought, okay, we'll put our show in on there. There's other things people can watch now. It's not like the days of MASH where you had I remember watching the nightly news at 6:00 every night when we eat our dinner and sit around the TV. And my parents wanted to watch the nightly news with, Walter Cronkite or whoever was on, Dan Rather, I don't know, back in the 70s and 80s. And that was really how you got your news. I mean, then CNN came along, but now you don't have to go to the TV at all. I mean, there's so many other places. And besides that, the TV news just lies to you. I mean, they will just flat out lie to your face.
So Fox is in a panic. So let me read this. This just broke, and this is big. Fox News has sent Tucker Carlson a cease and desist letter for creating a competing Twitter series. The latest move in a potential legal showdown. Tucker Carlson was suddenly ousted from his network on April 23rd. Wow, it's been that long already. With no official reason given for why they parted ways with him.
Oh my gosh, that has been a long time.
Yeah. In the aftermath, Tucker announced he would start his own show on Twitter, releasing his first 2 episodes last week, and there's been 160 million views on that. Fox has continued to pay Carlson and maintains a contract that they say stipulates he must keep content exclusive to the network through December 31st, 2024. Now, Tucker says that's only content that he's profiting from. He's not making any money off Twitter.
Right. I think that's what Megyn Kelly said is the sticking point on that.
The network sent an official correspondence to Tucker's legal team last week claiming the newscaster was in breach of his contract and threatened to sue. Fox has escalated the threat by sending a cease and desist letter. Tucker's lawyers argue any legal action by Fox would be a violation of Tucker's First Amendment rights, as the newscaster is said to be looking for a way out of his $20 million a year contract with the company. Tucker's lawyer says Fox News continues to ignore the interest of viewers, blah, blah. Okay, here's the thing. So he got 169 million views last week. He's got more people watching him on Twitter than all the cable news combined. And he also did this story on this dam break in Ukraine. And Fox News was reporting on the same story, but had the exact opposite viewpoint that he had. And tomorrow, Tuesday, the day of the Trump arraignment, it was announced that Tucker's going to drop his 3rd episode, and it's going to be all about this indictment of Trump.
They're panicked.
They're panicked. And Tucker Carlson, none of us know what his financial situation is, and I know
I'm sure it's better than most people.
Yeah, but he must be independently wealthy apart from the Fox salary, because he's really standing up and taking some very, very risky, legal positions going up against, because I've known people in broadcasting that have had non-competes. And Steve Kane has always told me not to sign non-competes. And I remember when Steve Kane and I we worked at a radio station in Miami, 940 Wins, and they sold the station and they let everybody go. And they said, "Oh, you have a non-compete contract," and I didn't. And in the meeting where they told me I was being let go, they stopped the meeting and searched for like an hour. I said, "You can search all day. I did not sign a non-compete. I slipped through it."
Right.
And non-competes, a lot of people that are in broadcasting love to sign non-competes. They love to sign contracts because it makes them feel more secure. The contracts are always in the favor of the employee, not the employer. And I've known people, the worst one, I've mentioned this one before, the worst one I ever knew, there was a guy I knew who was a local traffic reporter on radio. Those guys, they claim to be in a helicopter, but they were just in some cubicle somewhere with a microphone, pretending to be in a helicopter. But he had a 2-year non-compete. And they fired him from doing traffic, and he couldn't be on the air in any capacity for 2 years. It's crazy.
I would never sign one of those ever because
it makes you a slave.
Well, not only that, it's like if they fire you, how are you going to make a living?
Yeah, and Tucker, none of us know what Tucker's contract says, okay? But the way he's behaving, I think he's got something here. I think Tucker's a smart guy. He's very smart. And
he's been in the business a long time.
Yeah, and I think he, like I slipped out of my non-compete when they wanted me to sign one at that station in Miami. I think Tucker Carlson has a non-compete, but he's got this little exception that they didn't realize was in there for him where he could work for free if he's not getting paid for profit.
Right.
And I don't think Tucker Carlson would be challenging this so hard if he wasn't in the right on this. And Fox News screwed up.
So a cease and desist means that he has to cease broadcasting.
No, it's a threat. It's like did
they file it?
They send you a letter, cease and desist from this, or we'll take you to court and sue you.
Okay.
And get a judge.
So the cease and desist is not a legal thing. It's a letter of
That's correct.
Intent.
Most people, anytime people get letters from lawyers, typically they get scared and nervous and stuff, and they do whatever it says.
So they're telling him to stop what he's doing or else.
Yeah, and he's saying, go screw yourself. I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, and I'll say this, okay?
And I think I'm predicting his broadcast tomorrow.
Oh, it's going to be the best.
Is going to get more views probably than the other two have so far.
I would like him. I'm glad he's doing this on the Trump arraignment. And President Trump announced that after the arraignment, he's flying back to New Jersey because in the summertime he leaves Florida and goes up north because it's so hot and humid.
He's headed to Miami now.
Yeah, Mar-a-Lago shuts down for the most part over the summer.
It's really hot here.
There's only a handful. The Secret Service are always there, but there's only a handful of people at Mar-a-Lago over the summer. That's what the rich people do. They come to Palm Beach for the winter, and then in the summer they go up north.
That's exactly right.
But President Trump announced that he's having he's going to address the nation Tuesday night from Bedminster in New Jersey at 8. Was it 8:15? 8 or 8:15? So
he's going to go from Miami and go back to New Jersey
on Trump Force One.
Yeah,
and I just would like to see when he does that to do a sit-down, one-on-one interview on Twitter with Tucker Carlson. Mm-hmm. That would, I know Ron DeSantis thinks he broke the internet when he did that embarrassment of the Twitter space.
No.
If Tucker Carlson had a sit-down interview on Twitter with President Trump after this arraignment and got into everything, no questions off limits, that would probably be the most viewed video in the history of the internet. It would be big. He did an interview, President Trump, over the phone with Roger Stone over the weekend, and it was interesting. It was good. But to do a sit down with Tucker, you got the two most famous and controversial and beloved guys in America sitting down together with an interview like that. That would be insane. And I think Fox, what they're panicked about is they're going to be gone soon. I mean, they're really going to be gone soon with Tucker's numbers. They're scared of Tucker, and they're just they weren't thinking clearly when they took him off the air. They just were not.
Well, this is a
clearly.
Prime example of a company put to these liberals. This ideology they follow is a religion. We have Jesus Christ.
Yes,
conservatives that we worship. They worship their political agenda and whatever else that goes with that. And this is an example of a company like Fox News, Budweiser, Target, putting their political agenda ahead of business and making smart decisions. And they would rather, I almost feel, see Fox go under than give Tucker a platform. That is how hardcore these. I think that Murdoch's sons would rather see Fox News go away than allow Tucker Carlson to have a platform.
Yeah.
I mean, that is how hardcore these people are. Like John Kerry with the globalism, it's a religion to these people. They live and die by this, and they feel that removing Tucker, in their mind, they are saving the planet. They see him as that dangerous, and they would rather see him not on there. So the fact that he's on Twitter, and from their point of view, spewing his hate and lies, they can't have that. They have to stop him. And firing him didn't do the job. And now he's here. But the key is the payment. That's the key.
Yeah.
I want to ask you if you wanted to talk about one other thing different.
What's that?
That's been in the news a lot. This UFO nonsense.
Oh, my gosh, Kathy.
This Pentagon, okay. I don't believe in UFOs or extraterrestrials. My best friend in high school was in Russia on vacation with her family. I know it's crazy. 1988, she went to Moscow. And she swears she saw a UFO. She was in her hotel looking out the window. It was a clear day. And she said there was a black cylinder hovering in the sky.
Yeah.
And it just hovered. And she said it zipped. Her and her sister both saw it. Anyway, but I don't believe in this stuff. This whistleblower, he's all over the news. He claims people have been killed by non-human intelligences and says that the U.S. government will do anything to protect this secret. He said that they have commandeered ships as big as football fields.
That the U.S. has alien ships?
I just don't believe this. I'm sorry. He said some of the UFOs discovered have been as large as football fields.
Yeah.
Another military veteran also told the Daily Mail that his 6-man unit saw a hovering UFO being loaded with weapons while he was serving in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Others say they've encountered aircraft that can distort space and time. I would think personally, now some of you guys might disagree with me on this, I would think personally if UFOs were real and if there's really an alien race, that we would all be witnesses to this. Everybody would see this
there's
stuff.
A couple things here, okay?
Not just people why is it only people in the military that see these things?
I believe that there's probably some type of life elsewhere in the universe and the galaxy on other planets. I do believe that's very possible and likely. The galaxy is too big. I do not believe that aliens have visited the Earth. And I'll tell you a thing about that, okay? I used to really be into that stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Okay? And we used to get these
when you're a kid being the operative phrase.
We used to get all these photographs and sometimes really grainy film footage of it.
Yeah, like Bigfoot.
Now here we are in a quarter of the way almost into the 21st century. Everybody has high definition 4K and 5K cameras in their pocket, and we're not getting pictures of these UFOs all of a sudden when they could be made out clearly. So that's evidence. But no, I don't believe that aliens have visited the Earth, and I don't believe they are visiting the Earth. I don't think they ever have visited the Earth. I'll tell you one thing, give you an example. I was very big into this UFO stuff when I was a kid because I was a kid and I did this stupid, I'm a kid, I didn't know. But there was a movie called Chariot of the Gods that was big in the 70s.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, Chariot of the Gods.
We'll have to watch that.
And about 15 years ago or so, I went to Peru. And the reason I went to Peru, and by the way, do not go to Peru. It's a scary place. And it was one of the scariest times in my life. When I got off the plane in Peru, the feeling I felt was probably the feeling my dad had when he got off the plane in Vietnam. It was really scary.
Yeah, probably.
And I remember
your dad had weapons to protect himself.
Oh, there were weapons. I just didn't have them.
Yeah.
And I got into the cab to go to my hotel, and the driver, he didn't speak much English, but he says, "You look scared." I said, "I am." But
he knew how to say that.
But the reason I went to Peru is because that's where they have those lines in the desert.
Yeah, the Nazca.
And that's what the Chariots of the Gods were about that. And these lines, the Nazca lines, which I flew over and visited, and the Nazca lines were only discovered in the 1920s, and they could only be seen from the air back then. And you can see them on the ground if you know what you're looking for, but it's out in the middle of the desert. And in Peru, and the story of the Chariot of the Gods is that the ancient Stone Age people in Peru had these markings. These were runways for the alien spaceships.
They were probably done by the farmers.
Well, what they've come to learn is they marked. It was the desert. It marked where water was. What they were about.
Exactly.
And it was also some artistry of the ancient peoples. But it's all BS. It's all BS. And this new stuff that's coming out now, I don't know exactly why they're doing it. Another thing that shows you this. One thing I think we can all agree about the government is the government's incompetent. And I don't think the government is organized enough to keep this stuff hidden since the 40s because Area 51, that crash was like in 48.
Well, so
out
what
in
do you
Roswell.
think is behind all these stories? This whistleblower, is he cracked? Is he lying? He truly believes that that the U.S. has commandeered ships as big as football fields. That's big. That's what, 300 feet long? And I don't know, that's huge. And that they have aliens. What do you think is behind this whistleblower coming forward? Is he going to write a book?
Okay.
I mean,
remember that I met I cannot remember his name. There was a movie in the 90s. James Garner was in it about a UFO abductee.
Oh, I love James
Something
Garner.
Lights in the Sky. Remember this movie, Lights in the Sky? And this guy was abducted by aliens, and they made him.
Is that the one with D.B. Sweeney?
Yes.
James Garner was in that?
Yes, he played D.B. Sweeney. I meant the real guy that D.B. Sweeney played.
I've never seen that movie, but I heard of it.
We had him on the radio.
Yes.
Okay, and he was the guy that was abducted.
Yeah,
at
it was
D.B.
his
Sweeney.
book. He wrote a book.
And I talked to this guy.
Fire in the Sky.
Fire in the Sky. Yes, Fire in the Sky. I met this guy,
Yeah.
and we interviewed him, and I talked to him off the air, too. This guy was so full of crap. I mean, it was so ridiculous.
It's like the Amityville Horror Story, that book.
Exactly.
That
BS.
was totally made up because the guy murdered his family, and he made up a story that he was possessed by ghosts and all this stuff.
That was
as
his
a
defense. That was the defense.
So then it kind of became a folklore thing. So look, you guys can leave in the comments what you think
It's
about
all
UFOs.
BS.
I think it's baloney.
It's all BS.
I just don't believe it. And I think any aircraft people see in the sky like that, like my best friend saw, she swears. I don't know. Maybe it's
Kathy, I believe she saw something that she cannot identify and was flying.
Yeah, so that's a UFO.
But that doesn't
mean it's alien.
Yeah.
Right. It could be something Russia was testing out.
This is what you got to understand.
Who knows?
Okay?
A weather thing. Who knows?
To travel from one solar system to another, it would take a technology so advanced that we would be less than insects.
We have all
to
these
such
pictures from the Hubble telescope, right? From thousands, millions of miles away. All these photographs. How come we have never seen anything in any pictures from space of this kind of phenomenon?
Well, usually we don't talk about these kind of things, but I'll just say a couple more things.
Yeah, it's just in the news.
And then we'll break and get back into the politics. And I never believed these lunatics that questioned the moon landings until I saw what the deep state did to Donald Trump.
You never know.
And, I have met Apollo astronauts. I've met many. I used to go to Star Trek conventions, and at Star Trek conventions, a lot of times they have astronauts as guests. And I've met Apollo astronauts that have gone to the moon and everything else. And they
what do you think?
They don't really talk about it that much. They say very general things. It's not.
Anything is possible with this government. There was the space race. There was a lot of pressure.
This is what I know.
Possible.
This is what I know. We haven't gone back to the moon in 50 years.
That's right.
And if they could do it then on the kind of technology they had compared to what we have now, I question it. And and I'll tell you what a lot of people believe. I'm not saying we did not go to the moon.
A lot of people think they.
I'm not saying we didn't go, but I'm very open to the idea that it didn't happen.
Same here.
And what a lot of people think, and this sounds crazy to some, and probably shouldn't talk about this stuff because you'll think we're nuts. But a lot of people, and I'm not saying I believe this, but I am telling you that I'm open to the idea of this. And I had a conversation with somebody that made me think about this. Okay, a lot of people think Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the set of 2001: A Space Odyssey. See, I don't like bringing this stuff up because people are going to think I'm nuts. Okay, so let me go through this because a couple things happened to me that I learned about many years apart, and when I put them together, it made sense. Okay, so a lot of people think that Stanley Kubrick filmed the landing with Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the sets of 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was filmed in Europe, on the weekends. You ever hear this? Well, the actors, the two guys that played the astronauts in 2001: A Space Odyssey, I'd met a couple times at Star Trek conventions. And one of the guys, Gary Lockwood, who was on the first episode of Star Trek with William Shatner, he played a character called Gary Mitchell. And I got very lucky. I got to have dinner with him one night, Gary Lockwood, who's passed away since, and I sat next to him. And he was talking to me about when he was filming 2001: A Space Odyssey, how he had all the weekends off. He said he didn't work on the weekends. And I thought that's strange and interesting, but I didn't think too much about it. And he was telling me that they paid him every week. And he was telling me this story, how I got paid on Friday. I went out and partied, came back Monday. Then there was a documentary I watched about the moon landings being faked on Netflix recently, in the last year or so. And they were talking about how Stanley Kubrick filmed it on the weekends on the sets. I was like, oh, well, that's interesting because the sets were empty on the weekends. And if you go back and look at those sets, they're pretty realistic. I'm not saying that happened, but I'm saying it's possible. But I before we break, and I'll just finish up with this on the UFO thing. I don't know why this particular guy is doing it. Back in the 70s. Yeah,
I'm curious what the motivation is here.
Back in the 70s and the 60s, a lot of people did it because they did it for profit. I mean, books were about it. Art Bell had a whole radio show about it in the 90s. This guy from Fire in the Sky had a book and a movie made about him. And I told you, very interested in that. And when I talked to that guy, full of it. I don't believe anything that guy said from Fire in the Sky. That's just, So I don't know. You guys let us know in the comments what you think about. It's not, do you believe that there's life on other planets? Do you believe that it is visiting Earth? Which I just don't believe.
Do you believe that the government has UFOs the size of football fields with has alien life forms in jars, like in Independence Day with Brett Spiner?
No.
Do you think that's going on?
No.
I personally think it's all baloney.
It's all BS. All right, we'll be right back.
Attention all music lovers and vintage enthusiasts. Discover a treasure trove of vintage shirts at B Design Collection on Etsy. That's B, spelled B-E-E. They have a huge selection of vintage band shirts, including Queen, Black Sabbath, and Elton John's Rocket Man. These shirts are a must-have for any music enthusiast. Imagine wearing the legendary designs of your favorite bands. These vintage shirts come in gold, black, and white, so you can rock in a style that suits your taste. B Design Collection is offering a limited time discount. When you use the promo code GOBIG25, receive an exclusive discount at checkout. They also have an incredible variety of shirts for every occasion. What are you waiting for? Elevate your style and visit B Design Collection on Etsy at etsy.com/shop/B Design Collection. That's B spelled B-E-E. Etsy.com/shop/B Design Collection. The ultimate destination for vintage shirts and unique designs. Shop now and let your style shine. Etsy.com/shop/B Design Collection. Who says you can't heal hunger? In JoJo Ima Sierra Leone, there's proof that healing hunger is not just a dream, but a reality. Right now, a group of dedicated individuals have come together with a plan that works. Starting from one household, they're expanding their efforts to benefit the entire community. Their approach is unique, rehabilitating a plantation left to despair. But it's not just about revitalizing the land. It's about creating a how-to model that can help communities around the world. Using climate-sensitive technology and proven practices that actually work, they're healing people of the waste and malnutrition that comes from hunger and give them a chance for education and independence. By supporting this cause, you're empowering individuals to stand up for themselves and fight back against corruption, together breaking the cycle of survival mode and giving people the freedom to express themselves. This incredible group is looking for problem solvers, not complainers, and with your help, they can make a real difference across the planet. Healing hunger in one part of the world heals it everywhere. Join in and saving this devastated plantation. Visit fundraiser.com/crops for JoJo Ima. That's fundrazr.com/crops for JoJo Ima and help save a devastated plantation and revive the village of JoJo Ima. That's fundraiser.com/crops for JoJo Ima. Calling all adventurers, big and small. From author Ken Skelton comes a delightful journey that you will not want to miss. The children's picture book series, Travel with Smiley and Kenny the Car. The first adventure takes readers from Maine to Florida, and it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Embark on an exciting road trip across America, exploring the richness of our history, culture, and natural beauty. Through wonderful stories and captivating illustrations, you'll feel like you're right there with Smiley and Kenny. This book series is a treasure for parents, grandparents, and teachers alike. Just imagine sharing the joy and enthusiasm of traveling without leaving your living room. Inspired by his own youthful adventures, author Ken Skelton encourages readers to embrace the thrill of exploration. Travel with Smiley and Kenny the Car from Maine to Florida is the first of 5 books promising to take you on an incredible journey across all 50 states. So buckle up and join the fun. Grab your copy today on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. Travel safe, travel fun, travel America, and travel the world. Travel with Smiley and Kenny the Car from Maine to Florida from author Ken Skelton. Order your copy right now.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. And remember, those of you that are Patreon supporters, you have access to commercial-free editions of all our podcast episodes, and those are on our Patreon page. I upload them there. They're commercial-free, and you have access to those. Our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every episode of the podcast. So these names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters, and we want to thank all of them. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Rome, Wisconsin, Mike P, Paulette, John, Carlos, Arctic Fox, David, Richard, and Melissa. These are our top Patreon supporters. And if you would like to support the show by becoming a patron of the program, there's a link in the episode description, and there's also a link on my website, BrianCraigShow.com. And you tell me this bizarre story about Garth Brooks.
Garth Brooks is very woke. I mean, wow. He came on the scene in the early 90s. When I was at FSU, he was absolutely huge. He was as big as Justin Bieber. I remember he came to Tallahassee, and I was never into country music back then, but half my sorority went to his concert. They loved the guy. We even themed one of our Hayride events after his song. And he was huge in the early 90s. He's still around. He's opening a bar. He left his first wife, Patricia Yearwood. It says here, country superstar Garth Brooks is facing a boycott over saying that he will serve every brand of beer at his new bar. Fans are angry because he's going to serve Bud Light, which we know the controversy with Dylan Mulvaney. And here's what Garth Brooks said. I can't believe this. If you're an a-hole, but he said the whole word, there are plenty of other places you can patronize. Oh. That's a great way to start a business. He raised the ire of some country music fans. I would say more than some, after saying he'd serve every brand of beer. And he also, I read another article, he wants everybody to feel safe. Bud Light, okay, Brooks, the second best-selling music artist of all time.
Who's number one?
Doesn't say, but I would think Hank Williams Jr. Maybe Dolly Parton.
Of all time or country?
Country Western of all time.
That's hard to say. I don't know. I don't really like country.
A lot to choose from.
I don't really
Hank Williams, country. I would think. Hank Williams
was so long ago.
Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton.
Yeah, maybe
Taylor Swift. She was country first before she went pop. Anyway, he's the second best-selling music artist of all time. Told Billboard he hoped Friends in Low Places Bar and Honky Tonk. That's a good name, that's one of his songs, which is set to open in the South Broadway district of Nashville, will be the Chick-fil-A of honky tonks.
What does that even mean? They're going to be closed on Sunday? What does that mean?
I don't know. I want it to be a place you feel safe. I want it to be a place where you feel like there are manners and people like one another. And yet, well, that doesn't sound like a honky tonk to me. Honky tonks are like Roadhouse. And yes, we're going to serve every brand of beer. We just are. It's not our decision to make. Our thing is this. If you are let into the house, love one another. If you're an a-hole, there are plenty of other places on Lower Broadway. So liberals want to tell you who to love, what to like. I mean, this is how liberals think. If you don't love everybody, you're an a-hole. I mean, why the hell are we supposed to love everybody and accept everything?
I'm not a fan of country music. I'm not saying I don't like any country music.
This isn't going to make it.
There's country music songs I like. If I hear a song, I like it, but I'm not into it. I have never owned a country album or anything in my life. But this thing about Garth Brooks, okay? Is he officially retired from country? Because I know many years ago he retired from touring and country music, and he said, "I've made enough money that my family, my grandkids, they're all going to be rich. I don't need to make any more money." And here's the thing with Garth Brooks: the country music audience is a very conservative audience.
Look what happened to the Dixie Chicks.
Well, they're done.
It destroyed their career.
Well, that's what I was getting to, Kathy. But that's fine. We've been married a long time. We think
that's how it works.
But Garth Brooks is calling his base audience that made him rich beyond imagination a-holes. Sounds like he might do well with this if he was opening up a gay bar.
Well, that's what it's going to turn into.
Yeah.
He says here, this is what people have said in response. He's making me want to go to Nashville just so I can piss on his doorstep. Then somebody wrote, "Now I delete every Garth Brooks song from my collection. Never again, Garth." Another person said, "We don't put up with that. You know why? We're Americans, bro. We fight for what's right. We fight for what's true. We don't cater to mental illness. No, Garth Brooks, go hide under a rock. You're irrelevant, not worth a word anymore. You know what? I don't listen to any of your songs anymore anyway." So I think the mistake he's making here, and here's what Matt Gaetz said: "I'm sure glad we have Garth Brooks to tell us who is and isn't an a-hole. Question is, though, does it make someone an a-hole if they cheat on their spouse, write a song about it with their paramour, and then publish a duet with that very paramour?" Exactly.
That's pretty sick.
He cheated on his first wife with Trisha Yearwood and then wrote a song about it. He's a scumbag. Broke up his family. She's a homewrecker. Whatever. This is a big mistake, and I think coming right out of the gate to go into a business and
calling your base support a-holes.
90% of his customer base is conservative, MAGA. Okay, and this is how he's opening his business. Well, if you're an a-hole, I don't want your business. And he's not going to get any.
And
business.
He's done it. It's one thing. It's one thing if he opened it up and then they had every beer, including Bud Light. That'd be bad enough. But let's say that. But what he's doing is different. He's calling everybody an a-hole. Why
not just carry the Bud Light and not make a thing? And just not even make. I mean, you might as well hang up pride flags all over the place.
Because he's arrogant.
That's
he's
exactly
arrogant.
Right.
The thing about fandom, there's been a couple times there have been people I'm a fan of. There's one musician, I'll tell you. I love Prince. And Kathy doesn't like Prince.
No, I don't. He's talented, but I never really.
I love Purple Rain. That's a great album. The first album I heard of Prince was Purple Rain, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! How have I not known about this guy?" And the best concert I ever went to was a Prince concert, and when he died and he OD'd, and I saw how he was living his life. There was this video of him, riding a bicycle to the drugstore to get his drugs because he did his doctor shopping. He looked like a homeless.
Yeah, he was strung out.
And when I saw how Prince lived his life, I can't enjoy his music anymore. And
Robin Williams, I can't watch a Robin Williams movie anymore.
Heath Ledger, after I saw how he was living,
it's tough.
And I talk about Prince because Garth Brooks. I was a big fan of Prince. I love Prince's music, and it's awesome. And he was probably one of the greatest musical performers of all time if you saw him in concert. And it was just amazing, Woody. I'm not going to talk about the concert because I talked about it a lot, but it was just insane. I've never seen anything like it. And I love his music. But I can't enjoy his music anymore.
Right.
Because I saw what he was really like, and it spoiled it. Kathy mentioned Robin Williams. I grew up with Robin Williams.
I love Robin,
but I can't enjoy Robin Williams anymore. When I saw what he was going through and how his life ended, it's sad.
It's hard.
Now, I'm not a fan of Garth Brooks. I'm not an anti-fan either. I just am not into country music. But when when you go after your base fans that made you who you are,
exactly.
and you
So
call
stupid.
them a-holes, my goodness. I mean, that's the height of arrogance. That's insane.
That is insane. That is somebody who is so, he's like John Kerry in AOC. He's so woke that he can't see the forest for the trees. He has complete disdain for, this is what I told you, how businesses and musicians, they don't want our business. They like Fox, they don't want us to watch Fox anymore. They'd rather go under than have us watch them. That's how radical they are.
They're insane.
He is so radicalized, Garth Brooks, that he would rather he would rather lose your business completely. He doesn't want you to come to his place. And that to me is what he's really saying here. He's saying, if you don't agree with me, if you don't agree with my thinking, then I don't want you to come here. I mean, I have never heard of a businessman like that. That's crazy.
No, obviously, I'm not putting myself on the level of Garth Brooks, okay?
You're better than Garth Brooks.
But, well, you haven't heard me sing in a while. But I appreciate every fan, every listener, every subscriber, and
even the ones that hate you.
Yeah, if you meet me, sometimes like people come up to me out and about, sometimes, and more than sometimes, a lot. And sometimes liberals will come up to me just out at the mall, at a gas station, at a restaurant. Kathy and I were at an IHOP, and we went to pay the bill, and some listeners they paid our bill.
They paid our bill. It was crazy.
It's amazing how
that doesn't happen that much, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was out somewhere with my daughter out of town not long ago, and there was somebody that watches me on YouTube saw me, and would give me this special treatment. They're like, this guy's famous, and the people in the restaurant said, "Who are you? You're so famous." This guy says you're like super famous.
I remember, yeah.
But sometimes I'll meet liberal people.
Yeah.
And I'm very nice to them too, because they listen, they watch, and they're like surprised I'm nice. They want me to start interrogating them.
Yeah. They want to get in a fight with you off camera, and I've never really heard you say. Maybe once in a while you'll say something like, "Well, you can watch somebody else, or you can listen to somebody else." Very rarely, but I've never heard you say, "I don't want you to listen.
Exactly.
You're an a-hole. Go away."
Even
to the nastiest of callers.
All of us that do anything with an audience, like the podcast, radio show, my YouTube channel, a country music artist like Garth Brooks.
Crazy.
All of us only are where we are at because of you out there who support us.
Yeah.
And for somebody to call their fan base a-holes
because they don't agree with him.
That's
a liberal for
Even
you.
if I agreed with Garth Brooks, which I don't, I would say he's an a-hole for saying that.
I can't believe it.
Garth Brooks is worth probably a few $100 million because of people that he thinks are a-holes. How can he? And how long has he thought that way of his fan base? Is this something he always thought? Is he a complete fraud?
I think he's like Harry. I think his wife,
Prince Harry.
His wife, his wife did a.
Well, she's a country singer artist too, though.
She did a special with Jill Biden.
Oh my gosh!
It was
really?
on TV. She did a cook.
Oh
she's big on the Food Network. Trisha Yearwood.
She did a special with Jill Biden.
Cooking special where she went to the White House.
Did Jill
cooked together?
Did Jill tell her how to cook crack? Since Hunter's all into that.
She did not. But that might have been interesting. But I don't even remember what they cooked. But they went into the kitchen of the residences and where they cook, and she cooked a meal, and it was a whole hour-long special on the Food Network or something.
Well, you know what, Kathy? They have a bond. They're both homewreckers. They were both sleeping with married men.
And apparently liberal nutcases.
Exactly. Now, listen, guys. If you would like to support the show, a great way to do that is to go to mypillow.com and buy something with our promo code Kane at checkout at mypillow.com. This week it's going to be in the 90s today here in Florida. We're going to get a high of 95 on Thursday. High of 95, and the summer hasn't even
This is going to
started.
be the hottest week of the year so far. I'm looking forward to it.
And it's only going to get hotter. And Mike Lindell has these great new products that are made for the summer. And, during the summer, the time that's the roughest for me is at night. When you're sleeping at night and you're too hot at night in the heat of the summer, it's awful. And Mike Lindell has these two new products with cooling technology. One is the 3-inch MyPillow Mattress Topper 2.0 with the cooling technology, which perfectly regulates your body temperature all night long, your whole body. That is 40% off and free shipping with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane at mypillow.com. And then the MyPillow 2.0, which is buy one, get one free. The MyPillow 2.0 has the cooling technology in it. Your head and face will be the perfect temperature all night, every night. You'll never flip the pillow over looking for the cool side again. So during the heat of the summer, you've got your MyPillow 2.0 with cooling technology. You've got your 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper 2.0 with cooling technology. You're never going to get hot at night. You're always going to be the perfect temperature. So go to mypillow.com.
And you can feel it when you feel the pillow. You can feel it feels cool. Just by my mom came over and said, let me check out these pillows that I've heard you talk about. And she felt the pillow without the pillowcase. Even with the pillowcase, you can tell. She said that actually feels cool to the touch.
It's amazing.
I don't know what it is, but it's awesome.
Yeah, so go to mypillow.com. Use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And remember, you can take advantage of all the specials at mypillow.com with our promo code Kane at checkout, not just the ones I talk about. I talk about my favorites, what I consider the must-haves and some of the highlight deals, but use our promo code Kane at checkout, and you can take advantage of all the specials. All right, guys, my name is Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We will talk to you next time.
From author Dwight Reynolds comes your next must-read book, Never Been Better. Memories of people, places, and experiences. Available on Amazon. Journey with the Thompson family as they leave the emerald shores of Ireland, braving the Atlantic for a new life in America. Experience their trials and the spirit of humanity. The author weaves unforgettable tales from around the globe, all captured with a profound appreciation for life's beauty, a spark of humor, and a testament to positivity, perseverance, and family. Never Been Better is perfect for history enthusiasts, memoir lovers, anyone seeking an uplifting read that lingers long after the last page is turned, and book clubs. And a portion of each book sold will be donated to a mental health charity. So not only will you embark on an unforgettable journey, but you'll also be helping a great cause. Never Been Better is available right now on Amazon. Experience the memories, share the journey, feel the love, because life, as author Dwight Reynolds shows us, has never been better.